Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, to the Chicago Prohibition Tour's final episode of Cocktails with the King. As always, I am Jonathan Notek, coming to you from the speakeasy inside of our office with Jonathan Porter. And what have we got for him this week?
This week, we're going to talk about George the Rulebreaker.
Oh, I see. Are we going to watch you eat some more?
No.
Why are you so down?
Well, you know, the show's coming to an end, and I don't know, it's just I'm kind of bummed about it. I got to go back home and homeschool my kids for the next few months here. That's about it.
Sounds awful. Well, how about we go and have a nice dinner at Club Lucky?
You mean it?
Go put your big boy pants on.
Really?
You know, I got to tell you, it has been so nice to get into the buildings with the people that we have been working with for years and just haven't been able to lately. It's just been such a boon to my soul, quite frankly.
Just walking through the front door at Club Lucky is just like, whew.
I know. I mean, it's just, I love being here. All the places that we work with are class. We've been able to see all of our partners, the Deporters. We've gotten to see Liz and Meg. We've gotten to see Tom Kleiner and Jimmy Higgins. I mean, I'm just so happy to be here. It almost feels like some of the pressure's off.
Oh, speaking of pressure, George Remus, the rule breaker,
Right.
He's under a little bit of pressure himself
Sure.
at this point. Just some minor stuff in Chicago. He's kind of traveling back from Cincinnati to Chicago to defend himself publicly.
Right.
These are minor charges, no real danger of serving any prison time or anything like that, and it's mostly for show. He's going through the motions at this point.
Right.
It's gonna get a little bit more heated in like
he's
October
gonna
of
get
21.
into trouble, real trouble.
Yeah. You know which incident I'm talking about.
Yeah,
though.
you're talking about the Death Valley raid. So Death Valley, not to be mistaken with California, Death Valley is basically the heart of his operation. It's a ranch that he owns just outside of Cincinnati. And it's where pretty much everything is going to be run out of. At some point, most of the booze is going to run through there. That's where the trucks are going to go to the fake pharmacies, to the real speakeasies, to the addresses that don't exist.
His Amazon distribution center.
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly right.
And I'm imagining cash and booze.
Well, and not just that, but heavily fortified as well. There's one road in and out, and it's armed at 1 and 2 miles out by heavily armed gunmen. Right, you're not going to get in there to screw with his operation. He's a smart businessman. We talked about this. He's all about growth.
Doesn't
right?
make a lot of mistakes.
Well, we've talked about all the acquisitions he's been making, the distilleries. He actually makes a mistake.
Oh.
It's not a business mistake. In fact, he doesn't know how it's going to be a mistake, and that is he acquires the Squibb Distillery in Indiana. Here's why that's a mistake. It's in the jurisdiction of a man named Bert G. Morgan. Bert Morgan is one of Mabel Walker Willebrandt's hand-picked prohibition agents. He's incorruptible.
Yeah.
Right? Now what he starts to notice is that shipments to and from the Squibb, which are under the guise of being legal, right? Well, they're being wrapped in Cincinnati newspaper. Well, if you are even a half good detective, where might you go?
I'm going to Cincinnati.
Yeah,
That's
you might
pretty
take
obvious,
a trip to
right?
Cincinnati, right?
Yeah.
So they follow the booze back to Cincinnati, and guess what happens? They go right to the ranch. They end up right at the ranch. There is a federal raid. Agents descend. They arrest everybody involved, including Remus, eventually, because everything leads back to him, and that's where his problems really, really start.
Well, and I think he actually compounds that problem the following year in April of 22, because that's when he decides, I'm going to see if I can, get to Bert Morgan the way I normally get to people, and he attempts to bribe him.
And we already talked about he's incorruptible.
Yeah, so that's going to be a problem. So Remus and 18 of his henchmen all get arrested in violation of the Volstead Act and brought up on charges of bribery as well.
Right.
They're doing court the following month. So now we're talking about May of 1922. Now in May of 1922, the court is going to be like, it's kind of a showcase, right? Remus is just going through the motions.
Right.
Speaking of going through the motions, I think we should dive into
Yeah,
some
we
of this
should
food
absolutely
here.
have some of this food. I'm so happy to be here.
I'll tell you why he was going through the motions after we have
Yeah,
some
let's have a little
skipped,
bit and then we'll move on from there. You want to do with your fingers like a savage, or would you like me to serve you? Oh, okay, there we go. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Look at that. Look how pretty that is. Wonderful. Oh, that's my basil leaf. We'll just put that guy right back on top.
There you go.
All right, I want you to continue with what you're saying, but I want to get you some of this salad here. It looks delicious.
The Melrose pepper salad.
Do these actually, so Melrose, like Melrose Park?
Absolutely. That's where the Melrose peppers are from.
Peppers come from Melrose Park.
And it's only this time of year.
Oh, back to the story.
So, May of 22, Remus and his men go on trial here.
I don't want to get that on your suit.
Thank you. And they're just kind of going through the motions because they figure they've got protection.
Sure.
And they're basically, like I said, going through the motions. But what ends up happening is they get sentenced to 2 years in an Atlanta federal penitentiary.
Okay.
And Remus also has a nuisance charge for another year in Ohio, kind of unrelated to that, but it's all
A nuisance charge? What
Yeah.
is a nuisance charge?
He took his cane and he beat the hell out of some guy in front of a hotel.
Well, that sounds like a nuisance.
That's a bit of a nuisance.
Yeah.
Like I said, though, they don't care. The court goes through. This is the ruling on it. 2
Sure.
years plus 1 more year in Ohio.
Yeah.
Remus doesn't care. It's now held up in the Court of Appeals.
Sure.
And that's going to go on for another year.
Okay.
And the reason they don't care is because they've got somebody working things out for them on the back end. His name's Jess Smith. You heard of this guy?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. That becomes a problem in May of 23.
Okay, well, yeah, and I know why it becomes a problem. We're going to talk about that problem, but that's going to require something more than salad. So let's have a little bit of this beautiful salad here, and we're going to get into that.
Sounds good.
I swear to God, if you get this on my suit, I'll break your legs.
Yeah, Jess Smith really likes his suits.
Is that what we put on suits?
It is, and I can be such a prima donna.
I understand that. And here's the thing, is to get into the whole story, there you go, get a good helping on there, good God. The reason that he becomes basically ineffectual for this whole thing is that he checks himself into a hotel and swallows his revolver.
Get out.
Yeah, kills himself. So, when it's really hard to get the protection that you paid for when the guy's dead. But I'm getting ahead of myself because I really haven't explained who Jess Smith is.
Okay.
Jess Smith comes out of a group that's known as the Ohio Gang. Now, the Ohio Gang sounds like a group of these nefarious characters, right? It's really not.
Either that or a barbershop quartet or
Well,
something like that.
yeah. Well, no, we're not talking about the Ohio players. We're talking about the Ohio Gang.
Got it.
Yeah. So basically, what it is it goes all the way up to the presidency. All right?
Really?
Yeah, it does. And it starts with a guy by the name of Harry Doherty. Harry Doherty is this lawyer in Ohio, and he makes a play to get a man by the name of Warren G. Harding elected president of the United States.
I know that name.
Yeah, of course you do. Which he is successful at doing. And as a thank you, Warren G. Harding actually makes him the Attorney General.
Okay.
Now, how does this relate to Jess Smith? Well, Jess Smith is kind of Doherty's closest confidant, best friend. He's also his basically number 2. And more importantly, he's his bag man.
Okay.
This guy's corrupt as all get out. Okay.
Sounds like a good good person to be if you're going to be.
Absolutely. But we talked about the fact that you want to be the guy behind the guy, right?
Right.
And so Harry Doherty wants to keep himself removed from everything. So what do? You get yourself a bagman. You get yourself a guy like Jess Smith. Now, here's what's fun about that. Jess Smith is like Remus. He kind of is flashy. He wants to be out there. But he's handling all of Doherty's dealings. So if you want to get, for example, permits to pull out alcohol for medicinal purposes, what do? You go see Jess Smith. He's going to work with Doherty. Doherty's going to okay the permits. You're going to get it. But
It's
you're
not
going to
just
do it
about
for
money. You
It's
need
not-
connections too.
You do need connections, but in this case, it is about money.
Oh,
Yeah, and Remus pays him $50,000 on the spot for the permits he needs. He makes him a deal. He tells him, I'll get you all the permits you could ever possibly need for as much booze as you could ever possibly use for a price. And that price is 50 grand. Remus pays him on the spot in $1,000 bills.
wow.
All right, and then he goes an extra length and he says, and for an additional 30 grand, I'll make sure that if you ever get caught, you'll never do a day of jail time. I'll see to it personally that you never do
So
a
that's
day
the
of
whole
jail
reason why Remus is spending the first trial in May, not really caring, just
Right.
going through the motions.
And here's
he
what's
knows
even-
it's going to get fixed.
Here's what's even better, is to ensure that it's going to get fixed, he goes, after he gets arrested, after he's convicted, in fact, he has basically Jess Smith paid an additional $30,000 to keep up his end of the bargain.
almost desperate, like, you're going to do your thing, right?
Right,
You're gonna-
exactly,
Okay.
exactly. Here's the problem. Jess Smith, also under investigation. Well, Jess Smith, being the dandy that he is, he can't handle the idea of prison time, checks himself into a hotel, and as I said, swallows his revolver. Now, Remus is fucked. He's gonna do the time, and that's what ends up happening. With
Wow.
Jess Smith gone, Remus is in prison, and that's where he's gonna stay for the duration of his sentence.
The summer of 23, it all turns. Remus goes to an Atlanta penitentiary.
That's right.
Got
Now, you
it.
tell me after a story like that, you don't need something a little bit more substantial.
Well, I'm going to dive into this pasta
Absolutely.
bolognese, but I
You gave
think
me
we've
the
got.
serving fork, by the way.
Oh, sorry about that. I think we got some chicken marsala coming up.
We
here
do,
soon, too.
and we will attack that as soon as it shows up. This is fantastic. You know what goes good with pasta bolognese?
Remus bourbon.
That's absolutely right.
Oh, I'm bursting. That pasta bolognese was amazing.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Anyway, tell me more about Jess Smith.
All right, yeah, so Jess Smith is out of the picture, right? He's gone. That's Remus's protection,
Yeah.
literally gone. So at
Right.
this point, when he loses in court in May of 23, he's going to have to do real time, federal penitentiary in Atlanta.
Yeah, he's got to serve the time at this point, right?
Not a big deal for him, though. He's wearing suits, he's eating the steak
He's bribing
dinners.
everybody.
That's
Yeah.
how it goes for Remus, you know?
Yeah.
On the outside, though, he's still running his operation, and he's doing so through his wife, Imogene, at the time.
Right.
So nothing's really affecting him too much. Oh,
Oh
jeez.
boy, what do we got here?
Gentlemen, your chicken marsala.
Oh God. Okay. All right. So we're definitely gonna. I mean, we're not gonna not eat this, but we gotta let that sit for a second. I'm gonna tell the story and then we'll jump into it.
I ate
Does
too
that
much
sound good?
pasta.
You eat too much pasta. Well, we'll figure it out. So I'm gonna tell the story while we're eating this, but here's how much he's still running the show and how much he doesn't care that he's in prison. So 2 years prior to being convicted, he actually buys a minority share in Jack Daniels, and he actually buys it from the nephew of Jack Daniel himself.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really cool. But remember, we're talking about him being a rule breaker, but he's a rule breaker in a really, really smart way. Okay?
Right.
Yeah, but what I mean by that is what he's doing with the booze from Jack Daniels is he's slowly siphoning off from the barrels. His idea is to do it 6 gallons at a time. The barrel holds about, what, 55 gallons?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay. He wants to do it 6 gallons at a time. And what he's doing is then refilling those barrels with water and alcohol so that he can bring it back up to proof. So if anybody checks those barrels, it'll be in the right place proof-wise, and he's taken out so little that if they taste it, it'll taste okay as well.
Okay.
Here's where that becomes a problem. He actually gets involved with the people from the distillery who are a little too greedy. They are taking out the entire barrel, all 55 gallons, and all they're doing is replacing it with water and alcohol.
I ran into that problem when I was in high school. Once
Wow.
At the parents' liquor cabinet.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It might look right.
It's obvious.
The
though.
proof might be right, but it's not going to taste right, is it? And that's what happens. This gets him in even more trouble because what ends up happening is then they get involved in that. His wife gets involved because she's running the show on the outside.
Okay.
So now every rule that he's breaking is starting to backfire on him. Everything up to this point seems to have gone right for Remus. Now everything is going wrong.
Got it.
And this is really just going to start to lead to his eventual downfall.
How's the chicken?
That's fantastic. What do you say? We finish this off and then go have a couple of bourbons on the patio.
Oh, it's a beautiful night for it.
Gorgeous
Let's
night.
do it. Yeah. You know what goes good with bourbon on the patio?
Dessert.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Here, Tom.
Gentlemen, your tab.
John, pay the man.
Did you bring a wallet?
No. I did
I didn't
not.
bring mine either.
Well, gentlemen, you know what that means.
Yeah.
This is so 2020.
Let's go. Down to the pit.
We should not have ordered such a big meal during a pandemic.
Yeah, but at least Club Lucky let us do the old wash the dishes thing.
This is true.
Well, this is the last of them, finally.
Oh, thank God.
Yep. I honestly cannot believe you forgot your credit card.
It's pandemic.
Yeah, it is very 2020.
Well, that's it for us here in Chicago, ladies and gentlemen. We hope you've enjoyed our episodes. We're going to turn it over to Cincinnati for the final 2 episodes of Cocktails with the King, and we just want to thank you for taking your time to watch our episodes. And once again, for myself, Jonathan Notek, and for Jonathan Porter, thanks for joining us. This has been Cocktails with the King. We'll see you next time.
Take care.